I would have mixed views, and I think quite a few people would have mixed views. Obviously, in his later years, the last 10 or 15 years, he committed himself to a peaceful political path, and that is to be welcomed. But his early years were anything but peaceful or political. You know, he engaged in some of the most horrendous physical violence that Northern Ireland had ever seen. In fact, we're standing now on the west bank of the River Foyle, where tens of thousands of my community were isolated and marginalised and were intimidated by the organisation that Martin McGuinness headed up. So it is certainly a life of contrast, but his latter life shouldn't be forgotten, but his former life must not be erased either. Well, I suppose when you look at the background that Martin McGuinness had, he and I had very similar backgrounds. He was only a couple of years older than I was, a working class background as most of us came from. And yet my community faced many of the disadvantages his community faced, marginalisation, discrimination, but I didn't resort to the gun to resolve that. He did, and unfortunately my community moved out of this city in their thousands, primarily as a result of the activities of Martin McGuinness's organisation. Now, even in later years, now he did obviously become a changed person. Well, obviously she was in a difficult position. You know, she has to try and represent everyone in Northern Ireland. It would have been a very difficult position for herself personally, given the tragedies she encountered, both her family and her community. So I think she was in a no-win situation whether she went to the funeral or didn't. But you know, people should be allowed to pay their tributes in whatever way they choose, and I would have no difficulty with, and wouldn't have any criticism of people who choose either to go to a funeral or not to go to a funeral. Well, I think maybe if I just indicated that some of the things that really annoyed people was towards the end of his life politically, when I asked him on numerous occasions, the individual instances like the Claudy bomb where a young child was murdered, the census taker Joanne Mathers was murdered, the two policemen that were murdered before Bloody Sunday. He was in charge of the IRA during the time all of those people lost their lives, and yet every time I asked him about that, he knew nothing about it and didn't know anyone who carried it out. So it just sounded as if he wanted to belong to a terror organisation. He wanted to reach to the top of it, and he did, but then denied all knowledge of anything that happened when he was there. So it is definitely a life of two halves, and while there will be many, his family will obviously miss him, and there will be many in the Republican community who will miss him. Many people will say, unfortunately, it was very much a wasted life in the first 40 years of his existence.